It is 5 in the morning on a Friday. You have been standing outside a shopping mall for 6 hours. Your back aches. The person behind you is on their third energy drink. But none of that matters, because you have been told that what is waiting inside that Swatch store is the drop of the decade. The AI renders are burned into your brain, a sleek octagonal timepiece, bold candy-bright color, the unmistakable royal oak silhouette, those exposed screws on the bezel. That shape Gerald Genta sketched on a napkin in 1971. But this time, instead of $40,000, it is $400. An Audemars Piguet for normal people. Finally, the doors open, the crowd surges. You find the product. And it is a pocket watch on a lanyard, not a wristwatch. A pocket watch. The kind of thing your grandfather's grandfather carried in a waistcoat, except this one is gummy candy colored, comes in 8 shades, and has an AP logo on the dial. You can hang it around your neck, clip it to your bag, or set it on the included desk stand and stare at it while you question your life choices. So here's the question. Were you scammed? And more importantly, who exactly did the scamming? On the 16th of May, 2026, Swatch and Audemars Piguet did not simply release a watch. They executed one of the most brilliantly engineered pieces of psychological manipulation the watch industry has ever produced. A campaign built not on lies, technically, but on something far more powerful than lies. On silence, on implication, on letting your imagination do all the heavy lifting, and then charging you $400 for the privilege of being spectacularly wrong. To understand why this works, you need to understand the market it was born into. By the early 2020s, hype culture had fully collided with fine watchmaking. The royal oak, with its iconic silhouette and mythological exclusivity, became one of the most culturally loaded objects on the planet. Rappers wore them, athletes flexed them courtside. Instagram turned them into status signals for millions of people who had never set foot in a watch boutique. Waiting lists stretched years long. Stories circulated of customers spending hundreds of thousands on unwanted AP models just to build a boutique relationship, hoping to eventually be offered the watch they actually wanted. The royal oak required social capital as much as financial capital. The result was an enormous population of aspirational buyers with royal oak energy and absolutely no royal oak pathway, millions of people whose desire was pressurized and waiting to be redirected somewhere. In March 2022, Swatch showed exactly how to redirect it. The MoonSwatch, a bioceramic reimagining of the Omega Speedmaster, retailing for $260, caused global pandemonium. People queued for days. Stores sold out in minutes. Watches flipped for 10 times, retail within hours. It proved you could take the design language of a legendary timepiece, make it accessible, attach the prestigious name, and manufacture consumer hysteria that money alone cannot buy. The blueprint was written. All Swatch needed was a bigger name. Enter Audemars Piguet. Here is why this collaboration is so audacious. Audemars Piguet is not a luxury brand. It is not even a high-end luxury brand. AP is part of what collectors call the Holy Trinity, alongside Patek Philippe and Vacheron Constantin, watchmakers so rarefied they occupy a category above all categories. Entry-level timepieces start at $20,000. Leadership once said publicly that if you had to ask how to get a royal oak, you probably could not get one. That is not customer service. That is brand theater. When Swatch collaborated with Omega, they borrowed the equity of a beloved brand. When they partnered with AP, they borrowed the equity of something mythological. The question, could you own a piece of the AP legend for $400 generated more free media than either brand could have bought outright? That question alone was worth hundreds of millions of dollars in attention. The Royal Pop had 3 structural advantages baked in before any official image ever appeared. First was the name pure brand transfer. Second, and most ruthlessly clever, was ambiguity. Swatch and AP released almost nothing concrete in the weeks before launch. A font reference, some color swatches, the words royal and pop. AI image generators went into overdrive, producing gorgeous bioceramic royal oak wristwatches in every colorway. These renders spread everywhere, and neither brand said a word to correct the record. They watched the internet build the product for them and stayed silent. Third was the MoonSwatch precedent. which had trained an entire generation to expect a specific thing. Take the iconic wristwatch, make it accessible, add bioceramic, cause chaos. People came to this launch with a template, not an open mind. That template said wristwatch, and it was wrong. There was a real challenge here worth acknowledging. How do you give AP the marketing benefits of a mass-market collaboration without threatening the Royal Oak status? If Swatch released a $400 bioceramic wristwatch resembling a Royal Oak, AP collectors who spent six figures on theirs would be furious, and rightly so. Their watch's value is inseparable from its inaccessibility. The solution was genuinely clever. Make a pocket watch. A pocket watch cannot be confused with an actual AP on someone's wrist. It occupies a completely different visual category. AP gets the cultural conversation, the brand awareness, and the aspirational touchpoint, and the Royal Oak remains entirely unthreatened. From AP's perspective, it is nearly a perfect trade. From the consumer's perspective, it is a different story. Here is the detail that most clearly exposes the architecture of this operation. After the launch chaos, the police, the canceled store openings, the crowds, Swatch released a statement clarifying that the Royal Pop is not a limited edition, not rare. It would remain available for months. People were fighting in malls and sleeping on pavements for a product that was never actually scarce. The urgency was entirely manufactured. Scarcity was a feeling, not a reality. Swatch created that feeling through in-store only launches, limited opening hours, and the deliberate refusal to sell online, not because supply was tight, but because the chaos itself is the marketing. The news footage of crowded Swatch stores is worth more than any advertising spend. This is scarcity theater, and Swatch has now performed it 3 times with increasing sophistication. Now, none of this is technically a lie. Swatch never published a render of a Royal Oak wristwatch and called it real. The AI images were made by the public, not the brands. The expectation of a wristwatch was a collective assumption, not a guarantee. And the product itself, a hand-wound mechanical pocket watch with a genuine System 5.1 movement in bioceramic with AP branding, is a legitimate, well-crafted object. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Swatch had every tool at their disposal to post a single image of the actual product at any point during those weeks. They chose not to. They watched millions of people fall in love with a watch that did not exist. And they said nothing. Because being wrong made consumers more excited, and more excited meant more likely to buy. That is the real scam. Not the pocket watch, the silence. The calculated, profitable weeks of silence that let a fiction grow large enough to sell a reality. It worked magnificently, which means we should probably expect to see it again. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos like these.